So this is a series I'm going to do on some of the common emotions that are experienced both by myself but also some of the people that I interact with. And today we're going to start with anxiety. And just to understand anxiety from an evolutionary perspective, if we were thousands of years ago in an environment like this, everything potentially around us is a threat, but we don't actually know what that is. And so anxiety is the bodily response that tells us there's something in the environment that we may need to be careful of, or we could die. We are not as susceptible or as exposed to those kind of life-threatening threats anymore. So instead, internally, we actually create some of those perceived threats, and that still creates that same anxious experience or sensation or emotion within us. And so just to give that kind of backdrop of where that emotion comes from, today, biologically, anxiety is two things. It's a high heart rate and it's an increase of cortisol in your system, so an increase of stress. And again, it's in response to an external or an internal threat, whether that's real or imagined. And if you think about day to day as a leader, you're navigating new environments, you're navigating new or difficult conversations. You aren't sure of what the next decision, the consequences of that might be. You're not sure of the next conversation you might have and what might come towards you. So anxiety is a really helpful response. It sharpens your focus, it narrows you to a couple of things. And so it's really beneficial until it's not. It's helpful until it's not. And so in this series, what I'm going to try and do again is just place the emotion with some of the backdrop, give you some tools or techniques to understand, but also to kind of move through it. And then some things that you can think about to kind of build as experiments where you can test your ability to experience anxiety and also move through it. We've done the evolution. We've done the kind of here's how it shows up a little bit in your system. Let me just explain a little bit more about it. In your mind will go to, again, a narrowing or a focus, and typically we will go to overthinking. We'll go to taking things personally. We will judge other people's intent a little bit more negatively. We will skew reality a little bit more negatively. We will go to all or nothing thinking. So it's either this or it's this, or the talk was either brilliant or it was awful. And there's no space in between. Again, under threat, your mind and body doesn't want options. It wants safety and certainty. So just again to recognize some of those things, that is not that you are bad. That is not that there's anything wrong with you. It's just that these are your experiences and there's no judgment there. The other thing that happens when we experience anxiety is we can tell the story that it should be different than it is. So I shouldn't experience this. Anxiety is bad. I'm told that anxiety is this bad thing that only certain people experience. It's like, no, it's a really human emotion. I've experienced it multiple times. I speak and I perform in front of people often, large groups of people. And I still get that same physiological response because I'm not sure what's going to happen during that event, during the conversations I might have. And so anxiety is a really normal response. For me, it shows up in a sweating of my palms, my breathing changes, my focus narrows. It typically will go to negative, and I've experienced that many times. The difference when I experience that is I understand biologically what's happening, but I also accept that it's a human experience rather than judging or shaming myself for experiencing it. And then I try to always just take the smallest possible action towards the thing that's causing me anxiety. Is it the conversation? Is it the performance? Is it the talk? Is it the musical performance I'm going to do? Whatever that looks like. I haven't yet retreated fully from those things. I've always moved towards it. So I've built up a bank or an evidence or a lived experience of experiencing the emotion and moving through or growing through the emotion. And that's made a massive difference to my confidence that the next time I experience it, oh, it's one of those, let me move through anyway. And so some of the things that I do to move through or to grow through anxiety is, again, that framing or story or meaning that I give it, which is it's a normal human response. I'm not bad or awful or less than anybody for experiencing it. The next is accepting that anxiety is a really natural and normal response. Next, I get into some practices, and these are experiments that you can run. One thing that I've noticed is if I have more coffee than is helpful, so for example, if I have 2 coffees quite shortly together, I definitely notice an increase in my heart rate, which then if I mix it with the stress of something, is going to increase the amount of anxiety I hold in my system. So I lower or manage the intake of caffeine. The next is with breathing, and we hear about breath work all the time, and we only have to look at nature to see how it responds and does these things naturally, and we nearly need to think about it or see it as a technique. So if you watch a dog experience something stressful, or an animal being attacked in the wild, what it does is it will regulate its breathing. It will do that in a couple of different ways. One is it'll expand and then contract its breathing, so inhale, exhale, in large volumes. And what that does is it brings the body back to the present, and it tells the body that it's in a safe state to then think about the next movement. The next movement is a violent shake, like a bioenergetic shake or tremor, and that shakes out some of the buildup of cortisol in the system. The other thing the animals will do, and this is where we typically think of going through emotions like this on our own. Some emotions, like anxiety, we're not built for experiencing on our own. We're built for experiencing it with other people, getting co-regulation from other people. So my invitation whenever I experience anxiety for myself, and I would offer you this as well, is surround yourself with other people that you can maybe talk this stuff through with, but also can just be with, because we're contagious, and that's not a negative thing. It's easy to think about, oh, your anxiety is contagious to me. It's like, yes, and that's not a bad thing. That's a beautiful thing. We're built to be in connection with other people. So surrounding yourself with somebody or people that can help you feel present with the emotion you're experiencing, that won't judge it, but that bring you back to a safety, like that kind of herd safety, means you won't feel as under threat from the environment. And that tells your nervous system and your body to relax a little bit more. The next is get into nature. In here, you can spot a threat from a distance. I don't need to scan, I can scan the environment really quickly, and my nervous system can settle knowing that there's not a threat. There's a person walking here at a distance away. I can spot them, and I can get safe now in the moment. That's a couple of things that you can do. But I mean, it really starts with accepting that it's a normal human emotion, recognizing it when it shows up, and just breathing through it initially, journaling about or getting clear on what it is that actually makes you anxious or is making you anxious. Is it a person? Is it a conversation? Is it a certain type of pattern that comes up quite often? Because when you can make peace with that, when you can recognize them in the future, your awareness is a little bit higher, a little bit more compassionate, and you can be kinder to yourself and honor your own needs for what you need. The other thing is just to soften the expectation that you place on yourself about moving through the emotion quicker than the emotion might need to be play out in your system for. Even in recent conversations with some of the leaders that I'm working with, anxiety is a really common emotion. And often the story when you're working in an environment and an organization that is fast moving is just get it done, get next. And anxiety and any emotion like frustration or anger or anxiety or fear or doubt or despair or sadness or grief need time, and we often don't have that in the corporate world. And so what I would offer you as an invitation as well is find the space with someone like me as a coach that can be with you and your experience with no judgment, that can be with that experience unhurried, because that makes a profound difference to you not feeling shame or feel like you need to move through that emotion quicker than the emotion is ready to do. And I've had the recent experience of walking with somebody experiencing anxiety, having an anxious, like a difficult experience with anxiety, and just walking with them, being with them in nature, taking the time to be present with them and showing signs. I do this deliberately, showing signs that I'm not judging the anxiety as bad, even though the person was judging it as bad or wanting to get rid of it quicker. Made a massive difference. They softened, they slowed down, they could see things a little bit clearly because their mind and body felt safe. When your mind and body feel safe, it can open up, and the anxiety doesn't need to play out because you're safe, you're not under threat. So they're just a couple of invitations around anxiety, both the history of it, how it might show up now, and some techniques when it does show up in the future. Hopefully that's helpful, and tune in for the next episode where I'll talk through some of the other emotions that might be a common experience for you and for all of the humans that you meet during the day. Much love. Thank you for watching.